Hi, my friends. This is Lada from astrolada.com, and I'm here with your weekly horoscope for the 5th till the 11th of March. And this week, the energies are starting to shift. Two planets at the same time are changing signs. I want you to stay with me throughout the whole prognosis because, to be honest, you see the reality reflected much more in the general prediction. Which is for everyone because we're part of a collection consciousness. And when, planets shift and, not only specific predictions for your sign work, but the ones for everything that's happening in the universe for basically the general transit, as we call them. So stay with me throughout this prediction and prognosis, and we'll be doing we'll be mentioning each of the 12 signs throughout. I'm going to be making it difficult for you just to go to your sign and check it. So you stay with me because I don't know if you've noticed in the last couple of weeks, especially this week, that is still this week, we have so much Pisces energy and people have been feeling very sensitive, vulnerable, because this is Pisces. This is the deep feelings of the subconscious rising. It's like an ocean, like an underwater current ocean rising to the surface. And with so much Pisces, Venus, Mercury, the Sun, Neptune, and Chiron all in Pisces, we've been very sensitive and vulnerable. Plus, look at that, all those planets here in Pisces till now. Sun, Venus, Mercury, sorry, that's Mercury. Neptune is there, Chiron is there, and then we have in another mutable sign, Mars, that it's been there. And mutable signs, of course, make difficult aspects to each other. So what have we had till now? A lot of emotionality, a lot of sensitivity and vulnerability, because Pisces, whenever it's Pisces season, the vulnerabilities and fears of people rise to the surface a lot, because this is the subconscious and it's very hard to control subconscious feelings. And it's also buried from past lifetimes, painful memories, or whatever, they start rising. And Chiron there, the planet of our wounding, is also there. And by the way, talking about Chiron, is the wounded healer, and Chiron is changing signs in April. And we're making a webinar with Robert Phoenix on Chiron changing signs in April for the next 8 years, predictions, personal. We're going to focus on how it's going to affect you, the world globally and personally. Actually, our previous webinar with Robert Phoenix on Saturn in Capricorn was one of the most successful webinars we've ever done, with the best reviews after that on this website. And all the predictions, a lot of the predictions Robert Phoenix did globally already happening with Saturn in Capricorn. The control of social media, the control of the tightening of rules and regulations that you're seeing. And it's amazing world predictions he does, and on the personal level. So check out Chiron in Aries. The Aries signs and the cardinal signs will feel this very strongly. But whatever Pisces is talking about Chiron, this is where, especially since Chiron is in Pisces, there's a lot of wounding there, and it's been triggered by other planets in the last couple of weeks. So people are very sensitive. People have been reacting from their deepest wounds to and fears to a lot of things, and some of those fears are almost like unrealistic because Neptune is there. They're projections. But I've noticed a lot, and Pisces can be both extremes. It can be the most beautiful feelings, the most exalted, and people have been feeling like on a roller coaster. People that are in touch with their inner world, with their feelings. And I've been like that. One day I wake up inspired, grateful, because the high octave of Pisces is all those virtues that we want, all those, the age of Pisces brought the Christian virtues of forgiveness, of kindness, of awe, love, unity, the feeling of oneness with the universe. Is the most exalted states of nirvana, basically. So you might have felt a little bit like you're losing it, Neptune also rules mental illness. And it's very sane, because Neptune is the sign of spiritual awakening and the invisible worlds, and it also rules mental illness and you know, extreme mental states of any sort. So it's very saying that the ancient cultures knew that when people are starting to lose it, they're going through some kind of awakening. While we try to medicate them now, they try to heal them with a shaman and help them go through this kind of spiritual awakening to the invisible realities and to the invisible potentials within. So yes, so what I'm trying to say, that people might have felt a bit bonkers, but it's been a spiritual process. A lot of sensitivity happening, it's been happening, and it continues a little bit till Wednesday, and especially because Mars in a fire sign has been making difficult 90-degree aspects to all those planets. We call it square from Sagittarius. It's almost like pressing your buttons even more on all those things you're vulnerable about, Pisces, because whatever you have Pisces in your horoscope, there is vulnerability there. There is sensitivity. Pisces is emotional with no protection. Both Scorpio and Cancer, the two other water signs, they have a shell, an outer hard shell. Scorpio has a sting to bite. Pisces, what does it have? It just can maneuver and run, slip away from you. That's the only thing. So there's this intrinsic vulnerability, whatever Pisces, we call it Achilles heel. And basically the heel is also ruled by Pisces. But yes, also, for example, for me, Pisces is in the second house from ascendant in the second sign. So my vulnerability has always been self-esteem issues, self-worth. Sorry, self-worth is the second house. How well you appraise yourself, you know, how much do you feel you're worth? Plus, it entails after that financial things, you know. So that's a deep kind of issue that been triggered when Pisces was. You know, when Pisces is triggered, for every person, Pisces is in a different area of life. But whatever it is, we're very sensitive about that. And Mars, some antagonizer has been. Mars usually can play out as an outer circumstance or some inner voice that is pushing us. It might be some outer person that's been doing it, or inner voice. So for the past week, especially, that you might have been more challenged and seen someone that is pressing your buttons, and especially about sensitive topics, and have noticed that on a collective level, guys, even not on a personal level, when Mars makes difficult aspect, especially to the two planets of Mercury and Venus, it's been happening in the last week, which are planets that rule communication, that rule interpersonal relationships. Mercury rules also business and things, but anything to do with relationships is Mercury, Venus. Covers all kinds of relationships, from personal to non-personal. And Mars have been triggering them with a square, so very sensitive, you know. And sometimes you play the role of Mars, sometimes you play the role of the other planets, you know. Depends which is stronger in your horoscope by birth, but often you'd see yourself taking both roles. And people have been not, you know, sometimes you're the one antagonizing, being very opinionating and pushing your opinions, which is Mars. Your beliefs in down the throat of others, or you know, attacking them, or you might be the one that was attacked on the Piscean side, on the Venus Mercury side, that is trying to be diplomatic, and then someone agent provocateur in the face of Mars with strong beliefs or strong ideas how things should be, and strong actions that can be hurtful, that can be painful, might have been going over you. And I noticed this is crazy. I mean, that's why I tell you, watch this general prediction, because it is relevant in your personal life as well. I see the last week we've had so many trolls. Trolling is very Mars difficult aspect, Mercury, Venus. Trolling, especially the females, the women on the channel, and hurting them, and they're coming like sensitive and emotional and hurting, or sometimes they're biting back as well. But it's coming down, I told you, towards the end of this week. But the start of the new week, the energy becomes more and more peaceful. The energy becomes, because Venus and Mercury are joining together on, you know, around the 4th, 5th, they'll be very close together. Mars is no longer squaring them. So those biting attacks, all those kind of emotional reactions and sensitivities and reactivities that we've had are starting to settle down a little bit at the start of the week and to be resolved. But you know, there's been a lot of emotionality. Many people have been on a roller coaster, because this is Neptune experiencing the highs of the highs, the lows of the lows. I wake up one morning super angry, something happens, spins me out of control, because Neptune is the sign of chaos, of not having control of, sorry, not Neptune, but Pisces, not having control over yourself, because it's the subconscious 99% that we're not really, able to control and to understand. And then at other days, I would feel like this being so in love with life. I don't know if you've been feeling it, but it's just roller coaster emotions up and down. I don't know how people born with moon or sun in Pisces do this all the time. That's why they say they're the most spiritual sign. They have to be spiritual. Otherwise, what do you do when you're at sea with an inflatable boat and no directions? That's Pisces. You pray to God, and so that's what saves you. So but I want you to perceive this period that's been happening, that's happening till Wednesday with so much Pisces energy, as a spiritual boot camp. Because Pisces, as I said, is, especially ancient Vedic astrology, also tells us the water signs are the signs of moksha, liberation, which is spiritual growth, spiritual liberation. And in mystery schools, where when students would be taken to be trained to liberate the soul from the body, to travel astrally, whatever, to basically have the spiritual awakening, one of the exercises, the most important, was to train high amplitudes of feelings and to make them consciously be able to all of a sudden feel a lot of pain, all of a sudden feel from that pain or fear, to make themselves feel all of a sudden calm and peace or exhilaration, to really kind of train those feelings, to make them very elastic and flexible, because in the invisible worlds you operate through feelings, especially in the astral world, and you have to be extremely flexible and in control of those feelings. That's why the water signs, where this alchemical process of working on your feelings, in Scorpio it's to strengthen them, in Cancer is to awaken them, in Scorpio is to strengthen them and to have more control over them, in Pisces is to become flexible and to be able to shift from one feeling to another very fast and to go with it. And they did this in mystery schools, or if you have a teacher who initiates you, who wants to, and you're on a mission to awaken spiritually this life, these are one of the things that either your teacher will give you as exercises, or the universe will bring onto you such emotional states. But we're all in the process of awakening the spiritual qualities of this deep amplitude, developing this depth of the feelings, depth and height of feelings through our lives. Nowadays, we don't even need mystery schools, because life is so hectic. It's speed up in the last 100 years, and esoteric people in spiritual circles, they all know it. It's been predicted that karma has increased tenfold. Before, if one lifetime you were married once and you had one job and that's it, nowadays you change 10 partners, you change 10 jobs, you see the results of your actions 10 times faster, because time has sped up. And what it means is that spiritual training as well, the awakening of those qualities has sped up. So we don't even need any more spiritual mystery schools or a teacher, because we're trained through our everyday crazy experiences to train those mystical, those inner skills. So when planets are strongly in water signs, like it's been, and we have Jupiter also in Scorpio, and it continues throughout the whole year that Jupiter is in Scorpio. So there's like a spiritual training happening this year, especially now in March with all this Piscean energy. Perceive it not like, oh, crazy time that I feel vulnerable, out of control, at sea, and confused, because Pisces is about, tapping into, there is a lot of confusion when Pisces is there, because it's the primordial 99% of invisible energy, where everything is possible, is the quantum field, so to speak. And you're confused when you're there. You're in the middle of the ocean and you don't know which direction to take. Each one is a possibility. But it's a good time while when Pisces season, now that we saw some different alternatives, we explored some different possibilities and envisioned some different futures, or some different, it makes it possible to accept that these different possibilities are likely, because Pisces is flexible, allows for, and with another sign in the mutable, another planet in the mutable sign, Mars, that we've been when there's so much mutability, as I spoke in my previous week videos, it's about training, it's about seeing different alternatives, it's about seeing the possibility, envisioning a different future, different possibility, and tapping into the potential, which is Pisces, is all the potential that is not manifest but can happen, and starting to manifest it. So those of you who use those energies correctly and using them still during Pisces season, it continues till the 20th, are focusing not on the things that they are out of control in, that not on the things that, you know, that give them fears and vulnerabilities, because you make this 10 times bigger now, these fears, but they're focusing on the potential that is there, to use the imagination, to envision, to imagine what is possible, and to, you start believing it. Pisces is a sign of faith as well, so is Sagittarius. So you start, something can challenge you, something can, you know, make you go very deeply introspective and start seeing other alternatives and options. So this is what's been happening, guys. And we've been a little bit more challenged in the last week because of the Mars square to those planets. It might play in material well, in emotional kind of extreme amplitudes. But yes, so what was I saying? Yes, so perceive this time as a spiritual training of not as just being confused and lost and seeing different alternatives, but being sure, because of course Pisces rules uncertainty. You're at the sea, you're at loss, you're exploring different alternatives, you're not certain which one to take, you know. In Pisces, it's basically, and a lot of fears can come up, but this uncertainty is basically is what trains the spiritual resilience and the spiritual flexibility, spiritual flexibility, to be open, to be to learn to go with the flow with feelings, everyday feelings changing. One day fears appears, because we're very irrational with so much water, and all those irrational fears, they appear during the day, then the next day you feel like totally in love with life, and the next day you feel like the opposite, you know. So if you've been going through that, we're part of a big group that are feeling those energies, and hopefully that explains it to you. But we're starting to, basically, we're kind of been at sea, being swayed from one place to another, maybe to be given more time to turn to higher power, to ask for help, to develop spiritual qualities, deeper inner life. People often, when there's strong Pisces, retreat for a little bit, need to rest more, take some time off. There was someone posted a really funny meme on Facebook about Sagittarius in a fire sign, Mars in fire sign, and all those planets in Pisces. It was a guy sleeping on a sofa, because Pisces is about sleeping, you know, resting, but the other end of the sofa is burning, you know, in fire. And they said, when everything is in Pisces and Mars is in Sagittarius, this is so correct, you know. Something's burning, but you're sleeping. You don't have yet the energy to fully react to it, you know. So what's happening, though, is that we're almost like coming to the end of this being at the sea journey now this week, especially from Wednesday, because two planets, Mercury and Venus, are moving into into Aries, a fire sign. Whoa, okay, fire signs are about action, especially Aries is the sign of action, hitting the ground running. So till now we were exploring different alternatives. Maybe we had more time to contemplate, to go with it, to think, to work spiritually on ourselves. When people say, what does it mean to work spiritually? Spiritually is even retreating, being quiet a little bit with yourself, observing the events of the day and thinking, this is spiritual work. It's not some kind of mumbo jumbo invoking symbols. And, you know, spiritual work is developing inner virtues, being introspective, analyzing yourself. Spiritual work is also forgiveness, kindness, you know, and Pisces invokes all this. A lot of you, I'm sure, experienced in the past couple of weeks, since we had so much Pisces, themes of having to forgive, to turn the other cheeks, themes of kindness, of maybe even sometimes too much kindness and vulnerability, choosing to balance those out, themes of having poor boundaries because of being too kind or being too allowing in some sort, or themes of having to forgive, having to let go of something. These are all building spiritual qualities, letting go of something, forgiving, visualization, all those things that we talked. So a lot of those activities have been much more active, and just having strong amplitudes of feelings. This is again spiritual work. Don't think that when you're suffering, you're not doing anything. When you've been suffering, when you've been having lots of highs, ups and downs and emotions, this is spiritual work, involuntary spiritual work, but it is, you know, and just take it like, okay, I did my spiritual work this year now, you know, I did my spiritual growth and deepening in depth, and I explore. So basically, we've been exploring different alternatives, going within more, fortifying the soul, not fortifying, but growing the soul, and different alternatives. And now Mercury and Venus jump out from Wednesday into a fire sign. They'll be there till the end of March, basically. So water, this heavy watery feeling or confusing watery feeling starts to disappear, starts to lift, to become lighter. And Aries is all about action. So we've explored different alternatives. We've envisioned different things. Maybe we deep dived into a lot of our fears and explored in our head what is the worst case scenario and what can be a way out. Different. Pisces is exploration. You know, it's within. That's spiritual work again. Analyzing yourself, not analyzing, but introspection, you know, of what works, of what doesn't work. And now you're ready to hit, what is the expression? Hit the ground running, with Venus and Mercury entering Aries. So now you're like, okay, it's time to implement this. Enough of swaying from here to there and those emotional amplitudes. Now I am on steady ground. You're seeing the ground, Mercury and Venus, you're on the boat there. You've been taken up and down, you know, on the waves, but now you see the ground and you're like, full straight ahead, you know, and you're like starting to pull your boat. You see some kind of hope there. You see some kind of clarity, because Aries is very simple sign. It's simplicity. It's go, go, go. And this is what I want, and I'm going after it. And this is the goal. And, you know, and people with strong Aries, you can't just make them go for a walk for the sake of a walk. Usually they need a goal or something to reach. You can't like, they need signposts to have to reach to. And the same thing happens when planets are going into Aries. Now you've done your spiritual work, your introspection, you're working behind your vulnerabilities, your fears, confronted, feelings, blah, blah. And now you're like, okay, I'm gonna apply this. I'm gonna give birth to those new things. Now, and courage comes to you. Okay, now let's go, let's move, let's implement those changes when those planets go into Aries, you know. And a lot of people that especially fiery like me, Aries, and people with strong Sagittarius, people with strong Leo, or air signs that prefer clarity and simplicity and action, they'll be like, whew, finally, you know, I swam the ocean, you know. It's you know, in Pisces, like you flounder through the water, you're trying to run through water, you can't really pick up speed when planets are in Pisces. So in the, you know, you kind of, things are going, how do I say, it's a bit muddled and more difficult, and moving in water is hard. And then you go into Aries, like, pooh, someone puts you've been rowing your boat now, and someone puts on your boat, because we still have the sun in Pisces, you're still in the ocean, but someone puts on your boat electric what's that called, like and you're heading towards the beach, and you're like, okay, here's the goal, I'm gonna start doing things. But what happens, those planets go, so you feel more enthusiastic from Wednesday, more excited. But the moment these planets, Mercury and Venus, enter Aries, till the end of this week, they hit a wall. So you've just hit the ground running, going towards like, ooh, finally free of this more watery, heavy, wet blanket energy of Pisces. And Saturn is here in Capricorn at 7 degrees, and Mercury and Venus towards the end of the week reach 7 degrees in Aries, approximately. So you end up the week, you from the middle of the week, you get more enthusiastic. You feel like spring has come earlier, time to implement things. You start running, but you kind of, you know, Saturn square Mercury and Venus in Aries. We've just last week, this week that just passed, we had Mercury and Venus square Mars So very emotional reactions, getting more angry and those things. But now Mercury and Venus will square Saturn. Saturn will square them, whatever you want to say. So it's not necessarily bad. You still move forward. Nothing will stop Mercury and Mars. There is a wall, but what you do is like you smack yourself in it and you smack a few times and break through it. This is how Aries acts. It's not going to try to go around it. It's just going to make a hole through the barrier. But it's going to be a bit frustrated that it's progress running and implementing new things. You just might feel towards the end of the week that you have to slow down and check your, basically Saturn in Capricorn is about, are you doing it according to rules? Yes, those new ideas that you're ready to implement, that fantastic. It's time now. Aries is activated. New beginnings can happen, especially people that are Mercury and Venus ruled, people that are Taurus, that are Libra, Sun, Moon, or Ascendant, people that are Gemini, that are Virgo, people that work in careers that are connected to Mercury, speaking, writing, communication, media, business, people that are in Venus careers, women generally overall are Venus as well. So probably 50% of the humanity will feel that they're, spring is calm, energy, excitement, no longer confused, no longer at sea. Let's start implementing you're starting new things, but towards the end of the week and the start of the one after that, so a little bit further prediction, you just kind of have to slow a little bit down, because Saturn is the planet that rules walls and that rules rules and regulations. You have to comply with some rule or some authority figure. You feel it towards the end of the week, maybe towards Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or maybe towards even next Monday. You might feel it that some authority figure might require certain that you fulfill certain rules, that, or maybe some situation comes and says, okay, these new ideas of Aries, Aries is new things that you want to implement, that you're ready to start manifesting. Are they according to regulations? Are they tangible and realistic? Saturn is the most realistic planet, reality check there of some sort. And if you don't have this inner authority yourself, this authority will come from outside, or some delay or some blockage that you can see. And don't worry, it's a short influence. It lasts 2-3 days. Yes, you're frustrated for a little bit, especially if you're the Mercury Venus person. But you can basically the impetus of Aries is so strong that you're gonna break through it. Sooner or later, in a few days, you're gonna break through it, and you continue forward your journey. And later on in March, the Sun will join these planets in Aries, so even more impetus for starting new things comes. So just proceed a little bit more with caution towards the end of the week. And some people, though, if their Saturn is stronger, might be in the Saturnian role this week, towards the end. They might feel like, that, say someone who has Capricorn ascendant, Capricorn or Aquarius. Saturn rules Aquarius as well, as the or have a strong Saturn, or they're older, they're more authoritative in their life, they're in positions of authority. They'll be in the role of Saturn, feeling that some pesky young ideas or are kind of spoiling or kind of challenging their authority, maybe kind of clashes with youthful energy, with young energy, or with new ideas that are pushing them to get out of their comfort zone, and they kind of feel they stagnate more, use Saturn. And some people would feel both, because I have both very strong Venus and Mercury and Aries, which is new things, and very strong Saturn. So on some occasions this week towards the end, you'll be on the receiving end of you trying to regulate and control things, Saturn. You feeling a bit upset about someone wanting to introduce new things, or to question your status quo and your authority, or to make things in a new, different way, because it's a difficult aspect. You're pushed into it rather than you wanting to be like, oh, great, it's a great idea, let's go with that new idea. You're kind of like resistance, but this new idea can still break through. Even difficult aspects, we can make out of them fantastic results. Yes, it's emotionally more challenging, but that's what sometimes is the only thing that will spur us into action. Or some days you might be on the receiving end, or some moments you might be the one that has those new ideas and want to move, but some kind of outer authority or more established institution, or some set habits, because Saturn in Capricorn is very set in its ways. It's very traditional, something that, but it's always been tradition. This is how we always done that. Or maybe sometimes even overpowering kind of negativity. Oh, this is impossible, because Saturn in Capricorn is like a bit dour and serious and doesn't believe unless it's tested and tried. So you might have those inner doubts towards the end that are clashing with this impetus, bursting to start new things, to those new exciting things that have been brewing during the sloppy Pisces season. I'm sorry, not sloppy, but the emotional Pisces season, you know. So you have to balance those energies a little bit, you know. And you see, let me share also here. Let's see what the calendar, I have 130 pages calendar, is showing for Mercury for January. Sorry, some of you bought it already. It's $30, a bit of advertisement. We are in March. So what does it say? When Mercury ingress Aries, communications and information gather speed, rush spontaneous decisions more likely, but don't forget towards the end, something will make you question those decisions. So have to make some corrections, because Saturn is a planet of corrections. You've started, you very likely can start something from the beginning and start moving, but something makes you slow down, question, correct. This is the Saturnian corrective influence. You know, Saturn is karma, or let's say a correction, doing something a few times over, based on instinct or sudden intuition. Good for promotion work, self-promotion, fast sales. Again, it will continue to the end of March. Fast sales can happen, but again, towards the end of the week, something kind of is, you have to go through some hoops, so to speak. Fast journeys, aggressive marketing, short messaging, all those things. While Mercury is in Aries till the end of April, actually, it's going to be 2 months there, will be very important, will be happening. Aries, Leo, Sagittarius will receive increase of communication, information, business, and business, mental clarity. Let me just stop Skype. Anyway. So benefits, the fire signs will benefit from this fire energy, definitely. Information, mental clarity. Oh my God, everyone will get a lot more mental clarity. Mercury in Pisces has been like you're trying to drive drunk. You know, Mercury needs clear instructions and simple answers and facts, and Pisces says, well, everything is possible, or everything is potential, and that drives people. There's confusion. There's been confusion when Mercury is in Pisces, and now we gain that mental clarity. And actually, Mercury making difficult aspect to Saturn might be a little bit frustrating, but it peels away a lot of lies, peels away a lot of confusion, because Saturn is a very realistic planet. And corrects any mistakes. That's fantastic time this week, towards the end especially. But the whole week to correct mistakes that were omissions, mistakes, lacks of judgment, or lacks of discrimination and fact that might have, or miscommunications of any sort, or misplacement of documents, to be corrected. Because Saturn is corrective influence. Yes, it's a hard aspect, but it's not always pleasant correcting things, you know. This is, Mercury is not retrograde. There is little, this is the uncorrected chart, sorry. Okay, Venus ingress Aries will become more passionate, definitely now. For relationships, will become more passionate, excitable in decision making and evaluation. I told you, we'll be rushing towards initiatives in relating with others, in love, in partnerships, in relationships. And relationships started now can be for spark, sexuality, excitement, not necessarily long lasting, but Saturn is around, so that actually can be different. Okay, supports vigor and physical amusements, pursuit of adventure, pleasure. So definitely we'll be having a lot more fun. We'll be pursuing adventure a lot more. We'll be becoming way more experimental. The fire signs start feeling a bit like themselves finally. They start, all those new ideas, as I said, of the fire signs start coming to them. Yes, there is some corrective need and to shake off the illusion and the confusion from, I think it's perfect that Saturn is squaring Mercury and Venus at the start of their stay in Aries, because we get excited for new things and we shake off some of the illusions and confusions of Pisces while they were in Pisces. Because Saturn, as I said, is a very realistic influence. Look something though. Look at the first part of the calendar. It's so rare that all planets are visible, including Mercury, in most of March. Mercury becomes invisible towards the end of March. But this week now, till the 11th, Sunday, all planets are absolutely visible. What does this mean? Now let's go to the very positive side of the prediction. It means, guys, when we have all planets visible, that's heliacal phase calendar that I was showing you. That's so important. Most of the times I don't even look what transits are happening. I just look at the heliacal phases, which planets are visible and invisible. Because when a planet is visible, you can manifest with it in the material world. Yes, if all the planets are in Pisces, it's going to be like more watery process, more emotional, but you can still manifest. When planets are invisible, no matter where they're in the best signs, in the best aspects, you don't see the results. That's the most important assessment of the strength of a planet. So what's been happening? So what's happening this week? All planets are visible. So yes, there will be some difficult aspects towards the end. Saturn square Mercury, and Venus, but it's all planets. It's like wherever challenges come, they overcome and they give tangible, positive results because planets are visible. Things are moving. It's very rare to have all planets visible. I think that's the only month throughout the year, calculated with the calendar, that has all planets visible. So go ahead with material manifestations. Even though the moon is growing smaller, still don't miss this period where all planets are visible. Yes, towards the end of the week you might have to do some corrections, as I said, or slowing down a little bit, but it's so rare. And we have Jupiter going retrograde as well this week. Actually, if you check my March videos, I speak about that in depth, about each sign. So if you want specific prediction for you, because it's a big deal. Jupiter goes retrograde in Scorpio, whatever house it is for you, once every 12 years. So it's a big, big change. There will be a shift of winds and direction in the events and whatever Jupiter rules in your horoscope. I speak specifically in the March videos about that. Please do check them for your sign, especially your ascendant, your sun, your moon sign. I don't want to repeat here, maybe very quickly, but there will be a big shift in direction and changes in your life in regards to, if you're Aries, your taxes, mutual resources, finances, intimacy, gate house, money that comes to you from others, inheritances of any sort, and it's financial eighth house. If you're Taurus, starting from this week, there will be a big shift in change and directions in regards to your relationships. But in the videos, I speak for 15 minutes exactly what you can expect, the positive and the negative. Jupiter moving in your, starting to move, change direction in your 7th house, Taurus. Big shift of direction and change of perspective and change of circumstances in your personal and business relationship, contracts, promises, people coming from the past. If you're Gemini, it's in your 6th house. Big shift in the big shift and change in health, matters of health, in matters of routine, maybe unpredictability when it comes to your daily routines. You're planning something. This is how it's going to happen. Planets are. Jupiter, huge, the biggest planet, is starting to change direction in your 6th house, and you're feeling it already, and you'll be like, okay, so change of plans. The 6th house is your daily routines and change of work. There can be a big shift happening in the dynamics with works and colleagues, in the dynamics in regards to debts, 6th house rules. A lot of things I speak about that again in the Gemini March videos. Then we have, if you're Cancer, it's in your 5th house, big shift and change in direction in your love life or with relationships with children, My husband is Cancer Sun, so maybe that will be now Jupiter becoming stationary. That will trigger his 5th house of children. Maybe this baby will pop out this week, hoping, or maybe because it's changing direction and shifting, it's gonna surprise us, because planets shifting direction, they're surprising. I speak about that in each video. So changes with surprises, changes of plan, shifts of circumstances in your love life, in regards to creative projects, in regards to your romantic life, in regards to matters connected to creativity, like if you have your own business, is also the 5th house, because you creatively rule it. If you are a Leo, it's in your 4th house, shifts and changes emotionally on a deep emotional level. Something is shifting, or with your personal life, with family, with property, with matters of home. I'm Leo moon, so matters of home, property, shift, family, mom. It's my mom is coming next week, so she'll turn things around here for sure. Anyway, if you're Virgo, it's in your 3rd house, big shifts and change of direction and surprises happening to you, with already maybe started, but this week very strong, with in regards to your relationships with siblings, with co-workers, with teammates, with playmates, in the life of those people, or in regards to your if you're in business, 3rd house is commercial activities, transactions, work in small group, marketing, advertising, communications, big shift in something to do with documents, with papers, with information, with learning, with skills, surprises there as well. Also your schedule and plans as well can be quite surprised, can have to shift as well. Your orientation for having to use different skills and stuff like that. It's not a big deal. If you're Libra, it's in your 2nd house, big shift, surprises, changes of circumstances, the need to adapt, reorient is happening with your resources and money. The winds of change are shifting there. And possessions and self-worth on a deep level, as I said, 2nd house is how much do you value yourself, and that's reflected by how much you attract or you create and you're evaluated by the universe as money outside of possessions. Okay, if you're a Scorpio, of course, for you Scorpios, this is very pivotal time. This is the once in 12 years that Jupiter, the biggest planet, the biggest benefic, the planet of higher knowledge, of higher understanding and clarity and higher consciousness, is changing direction in your sign. It's starting to move backwards. So it's going to be bringing some things from the past that you can get answers to in the next 4 months while it's retrograde. But the biggest shifts happen when the planet changes direction, basically. It gives you a insight into what you're going to be working over on for the next 4 months, and what you're going to be getting more clarity and answers, because Jupiter is answers, and implanting new and what kind of opportunities are you going to be working to integrate and implant for a long time in your life, but the hard work will be done in the next 4 months starting from now. But it's about opportunities, and opportunities that you might have missed that come to you now, for you to embrace them, that come for you to implant themselves lastingly for you. And clarity and opportunities that might be also educational, with higher education, with travel. Jupiter rules all those things, opportunities connected also to children. Jupiter rules fertility and children that become more intense. That there's surprises, there's shift in circumstances with all those matters, and abundance, and so many things. Check out the March videos. If you're Sagittarius, of course, Jupiter changing direction is happening in your 12th house. So there's like a spiritual reorientation there. 12th house, when it comes to tangible material things, rules faraway journeys. There might be some surprises or changes in plans like that. Rules immigration as well. There might be some surprises. Rules research. Maybe there will be some shifts and change if you've been working on some research, behind the scenes, some kind of unique developments. Or there might be some developments in regards to check out the video for March. I go really in depth for Sagittarius there when Jupiter goes retrograde in your 12th house. It's very important for you because Jupiter rules you. So this week is very pivotal for Sagittarius people, especially Sagittarius rising people. Something will shift in a big way in their life, in the direction they're taking. And it's going to be happening in a more private, in a more secret way because of Jupiter being in the 12th house. Something in their consciousness will shift in their circumstances. It might not be visible for others in a big way, but this is the start of a new phase of your life, basically. Very likely. Okay, if you're Capricorn, check out again, I repeat, the videos for March. I speak much more in depth. It's in your 11th house. There might be a shift and surprises and change of direction and circumstances in your social life with friends, in your long-term goals. The 11th house rules those long-term goals and socio-economic goals as well. Pre-orientation of some sort and some old socio-economic opportunities coming back to be worked on, to be redone. Check out the videos for much more detail. And if you're Aquarius, it's in your 10th house, our 10th house, Aquarius rising here. We're using whole sign houses here, guys. I know some of you say, oh, well, it says I'm Aquarius rising, but Jupiter is going to be retrograde in my 10th house, in my 11th house, it shows here, on my 9th house. Well, we cannot do specific house cusps here. We do the whole sign ancient astrology system, and it works fantastic. Always check it. So for Aquarius, some shift in direction, maybe having to slow down, to retreat in regards to their career, to explore opportunities or ideas that have come to them in the last few months and that they've omitted, but now they have to implement over the next 3-4 months. So it's not so much about new ideas that you'll be implementing with your career as implanting ideas that came but you didn't fulfill before in regards to your business, to grow it, to expand it, you know. So the hard work will be happening in the next 3-4 months. So the change of your career and social status, a big shift there happening starting from this week. Okay, and for Pisces, it's happening in the 9th house. It's big shifts or changes or surprises happening with higher education, pre-qualification, their plans for the future, what they want from the future might start changing. Also matters connected to higher education, matters connected to foreign interactions, to travel of any source, matters connected to belief systems. Check out the March video as well. I speak much more specifically about the practical manifestation of Jupiter in the changing signs in the 9th house. Woo! So interesting week, guys. We have a planet changing signs and 2 planets changing signs in Aries. So this part of your life starts getting energized a lot, whatever Aries is in your horoscope. Now I'm not going to go through the 12 signs again, but for Aries, all their life starts moving and they can start feeling themselves more, feeling more attractive, feeling more peaceful, Venus, feeling more you know, happy as well, Venus and Mercury, and more things speeding up for them. For Taurus, well, yeah, that's gonna be too much now. But yes, things are, as I try to explain, the activity increases, positivity increases, especially from the middle of the week. Desire to act increases. Desire to pursue new beginnings increases. Not only desire, but you start doing them. But towards the end of the week and the start of the next one, you have to kind of a little bit adjust course because of Saturn. You have to overcome some, you know, limitation or some kind of, it might be an emotional state or it might be outer demand that you have to fulfill, but you full speed ahead. We keep on moving. All planets are being visible, so we'll be getting results here. And Jupiter is changing direction. Expect some surprises this week. So thank you so much, guys. Wonderful that you're always, most of you watch the whole videos. I'm so grateful, guys. And they anything I mention, they write it down, and I feel so grateful. So it gives me the desire to keep doing such longer videos. And by the way, I'll try to be more and more present with videos now, because I'm not going to be working so much on with clients for the next couple of months, but I'll be trying to, when the baby is born, to do more videos, to be more present here, for us to reconnect and rebond. And my season is starting, the Aries season. Spring is coming early with Venus and Mercury in Aries. I want to I start feeling again like myself. And I want to give you some of this Aries impetus that I carry in me: enthusiasm, excitement, excitability, childlike simplicity. So thank you so much. And I will see you who knows? I don't know if I'll see you next week. We might skip a weekly here. But yes, check out the webinar with Robert Phoenix on Aries. What was it? Chiron in Aries. And there's another webinar with Krasi on talismans, how to make talismans for luck, for money, for that would be astrology magic, as the ancient did it, with simple, cheap tools. So thank you so much, and I will see you soon, maybe with a baby.